Excellent. Whilst everyone keeps joining in, just a quick introduction. Of course, we're really glad to have all of you here today. It's also good to see that some of you would have joined other aspects of our programming, so that's our mentorship program, and we could good to see that some of the similar names here as well. Of course, just in brief, today we have here our session around becoming a climate mental health champion. And as you will know, this is under the UNFCCC's Youth for Capacity program. And we're delighted to be collaborating with the Billion Minds Institute and also the Climate Care Center, along with our amazing panelists here today to sort of delve into that intersection of climate, mental health, and youth. Now, I won't delve too much on it at this point in time, but without further ado, I'll probably introduce Gary to just touch on sort of a general introduction, a general overview as we sort of kickstart this session. And of course, continue to feel free to introduce yourselves within the chat. Over to you, Gary.
Thank you. Greetings, everyone. It's so great to see you all here, and just looking where everyone is coming from globally. It's really great to be in the room with you. My name is Gary Belkin. I'm a psychiatrist in a good way. I'm based here in New York City. I've mostly worked actually in public health roles and policy roles. I was New York City mental health commissioner for a while, and I got really interested in, okay, how does mental health play out across society, and how does society affect mental health? And in that interaction is some really critical things to get right, because they each have impact on each other. And we just see that just so true and so relevant in the climate context. The environment, environmental damage, the threat of that, the ramifications of that affect mental health deeply, and mental health and social ties and our sense of agency and connection and hope, and hopefulness, determine what we can do together, and societies can adapt and drive change. So it's not just about certain diagnoses or things. It's really about, okay, how are we going to have adaptable, humane societies in solidarity in the face of these threats? And so that way of approaching mental health is we have to start thinking a little differently about how we do it. And so I've been doing a lot of that kind of work, how we redesign communities to be mental health promoting places, by taking advantage, first of all, how people support each other anyway, in many ways, many customs, cultural traditions to do emotional support and solidarity building and sense making, and then to build on that. And when I was mental health commissioner here, I really borrowed from some really great new innovations over the last 2 decades in community mental health across largely the global South, around how most skills that people would come to professionals for me for help can be adapted to be used by anyone. And so it's really about democratizing and dispersing and owning at all different levels the work of mental health. And so that I've been learning a lot from youth leadership in that area, who found, and you're going to hear from several of examples of really owning what mental health should do for people, how it should empower people, how it should support people in a specific context, for specific purposes, really fashion it as their own project. And what we want to learn a bit here in breakout groups, after you hear from Daniela, who's a colleague of mine and working on a project that we then want to hear from you about, which is what is kind of the learning system, the learning support system and technical support system that enables people everywhere on the ground to bring up tools that meet the needs that they're facing where they are. How do we build that kind of infrastructure for growing mental health promoting places in all climate impacted places in the world? And as I've said, I've seen youth being particularly inventive about that and organizing about that. So first, Danielle is going to go through a little bit of climate impacts, mental health impacts 101, for those who may not be more marinated in this subject, because we actually know a lot about this broad degree of impact that climate has on mental health and well-being. And then we're going to hear from youth leaders who are really doing this crafting of ways, of inventive ways and mixing different ways to incorporate and combine emotional support, solidarity building, change making, sense making, all in one combination that makes sense. And so what we're going to ask you after hearing that is to go into breakout groups and act as advisors to an effort that I'm working on with the Climate Care Center, that we're working with the UN Youth Office on, is how do we build this learning system so that people anywhere, communities anywhere that are working and problem solving in the face of climate issues can find their recipe for bringing emotional support, mental health approaches, and psychological strengthening approaches into it as they need to. We're calling that learning system a resilience observatory. We've started it with large organizations like BRAC, like Slum Dwellers International, large NGOs across the world, but we want to create a hub of support for youth organizations globally to be able to be the designers and creators and shared learners of how to do mental health in that communal way. So that's our goal, and we'll remind you of some prompts to think about that when we go to breakouts in advising that kind of idea and how it should be designed to really be useful to all of you. But I'm going to hand over to Daniela to give a little more background on these issues and then introduce our panelists.
Amazing. Thanks, Gary, and thanks for laying out what the rest of this 90-minute webinar is going to be about. So yeah, really excited to have the breakout groups later to hear from you. I am going to attempt to share my screen and share a presentation, very, very short, just on the lay of the land of climate change and mental health research with young people. Could someone just confirm you can see my screen? Awesome. I can see that Hannah's put her thumbs up. So yeah, I just wanted to share what we know right now in the research about how young people are feeling in the context of the climate crisis. So for some context, my colleague Emma Lawrence did some research during the COVID-19 pandemic and found that UK young people were more distressed about the climate crisis than COVID-19, which is obviously quite shocking during that period of time. Since then, we know that young people in the US, for example, they've experienced a climate event. They are now reporting that they're scared to have children to bring into this world. We also know from young people in Canada that being worried about the climate crisis is associated with higher anxiety, depression, and self-harm symptoms. And we've also heard similar findings in the Philippines when we did some focus groups this year. And they told us that some of their community members are dying by suicide and self-harming as well to cope with all the different climate events which are happening so often in the Philippines. And one of the big pieces of research that's happened in this field was with 10,000 young people across 10 countries. And one of the main findings is that most young people are feeling that their governments are betraying them and their futures. And we hear this time and time and again from each different country from many, many young people. So there's a full spectrum of the kind of diagnosed mental health outcomes, but also the psychological resilience and also future planning that we're hearing from young people across the world. And one of the pieces of research that I led this year was trying to see, so we did a whole big review where we looked at all these different papers, I think it was 93 different papers about how young people are experiencing being aware of the climate crisis. And we kind of assumed that the most common terms are eco-anxiety, which it is, but it turns out we found 173 different ways that young people communicate and experience and respond to the climate crisis and being aware of the climate crisis. And this spanned from the kind of normal things that we hear about eco-anxiety and climate anxiety, but also into emotions such as fear and guilt, but also into some, I guess, more what we call socio-ecological health, such as thinking about spirituality, financial well-being, and being connected to communities, as well as what we have seen in the research with the direct mental health disorders as well, such as anxiety and depression. We also found at least 52 coping strategies that young people have for dealing with the climate crisis and being aware of the climate crisis. And a lot of these strategies did involve being part of communities, which is obviously something we're going to be discussing today in this webinar. And yeah, just to flag that eco-anxiety is one of the most common experiences that we hear, but actually there's over 41 different ways that it's defined. So there's not even a consensus of what eco-anxiety means to young people. And one of, as I said earlier, I work for the Climate Care Centre, and one of our flagship projects was the Connecting Climate Minds project, where we spoke to 1,200 people across 126 countries. And we've produced a global research and action agenda on climate change and mental health. But specifically, we also produced a youth agenda led by young people, speaking to 94 young people across multiple countries. I just wanted to share the key priorities that the young people from these dialogues expressed, which match this webinar today. And that is leveraging existing social structures and groups to provide mental health and psychosocial support for young people, advocating for youth inclusive policy making, increased investment in climate mental health services for young people. And I think that's something we'll touch more on today about the financial side of all of this, and also co-production with young people, which is something we're doing today with you, which we're really excited about. So I am going to stop sharing my screen there. Thank you so much for that quick whistle stop tour. I'm now going to introduce the amazing panel that we have today. So we have 5 young people from 4 youth-led organisations. They are going to be talking about their experiences of being a youth-led organisation, building global communities in person and online around climate change, mental health, and psychological resilience. So the format is each speaker will speak for 5 minutes. Each organisation will speak for 5 minutes, followed by 10 minutes of questions at the end. So if you want to write your questions into the chat, we will be monitoring that, and there'll also be opportunity for you to unmute at the end of the 4 talks if you want to ask the question out loud. So I'm firstly going to introduce our who is Hannah Hooper from the UK, United Kingdom, representing Force of Nature. Over to you, Hannah. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm super grateful to be here today. And yeah, thanks for that wonderful introduction from Gary and Daniela. I'm Hannah. I work at Force of Nature, head of programs, and we're a youth nonprofit working at the intersection of the climate crisis and mental health. We were founded in 2019 by Clover Hogan. And when Force of Nature was founded, there was a real sense of realizing that young people's mental health was being severely impacted by the climate crisis, and yet their emotions weren't being validated or taken seriously. And there was this terminology of eco-anxiety, which was very much kind of on the rise at the time. And at Force of Nature, we really kind of, I guess, rode that wave of eco-anxiety and the kind of intrigue and interest in what it is and how it shows up in young people. So we are very much at the beginning of our journey, rooted in how do we create space for young people to really express and talk about their climate-related emotions. And we did this through offering our signature workshop, which is our Anxiety to Agency workshop. And this is a 90-minute workshop which supports young people from going from a place of feeling, really anxious, maybe feeling apathetic in relation to the climate crisis, to feeling a sense of agency and empowerment, and feeling like they can actually take action in their community. And we really navigated this through, allowing young people to understand their emotions, but also to remove that kind of, I guess, the shame aspect of feeling things like eco-anxiety or feeling apathy or feeling disempowered. We really wanted to normalize those emotions. We're predominantly an online organization, so the majority of the work we do is through online workshops. And as we've grown as an organization and the more workshops we run, we've really like grown a global audience, which has been absolutely incredible. And over the years, as we've grown our audience to that more kind of global reach, we realized that the terminology of eco-anxiety was maybe not resonant for folks all over the world. So we've run focus groups and we've really had conversations with our community on how we can make our content more relevant on that global perspective and really support people from around the world through community building, through being able to adjust our content to the needs of their community. So from that place, we created our Becoming a Force of Nature program, which still has the root of the anxiety to agency work in it, that kind of bread and butter of who Force of Nature is. But we've built on that, and it's a three-part workshop, and it's facilitated by fellow young people, which I'll share more about in a bit. And it's really about helping young people who are beginning, maybe starting their journey into climate. They know they want to take action, but they're unsure where to begin, maybe feeling that sense of overwhelm, and it's helping them navigate not only their climate emotions, but understanding, what are their values, what are they passionate about, in what ways do you want to take action, and really providing them with a roadmap of their change maker journey, with the outcome at the end of going out and taking action in their local community. And that's been something that we've been working on now for the last couple of years. And we ran it twice this year with nearly, I think we had over 1,000 applications this year, which is just absolutely blows my mind, for people who want to join this program and really start taking action in their local community and seeking that sense of community, even if it is in that kind of online space. And then to deliver these programs, we train up young people to deliver the content, which has also been super rewarding, kind of seeing that and realizing that young people should be paid for their time and their energy that they're putting into the work that they're doing. We're really strong advocates for platforming young people, making sure their voices are being heard, making sure they're being put at the seat at the table where their experiences are being shared and valued. So we're really strong advocates for making sure young people's experiences and voices are platformed and heard. And I guess in terms of things that we're kind of navigating and realizing as an organization going forward is there is a real need for more in-person work, and that's been something that our community's really been asking for. So going forward, we are really hoping that we can explore more in-person work, whether that's delivering Becoming a Force of Nature regionally with different facilitators, as well as doing our climate cafe initiative as well. We've just had that translated, a guide that we created on how to facilitate climate cafes in 5 different languages to really support that global network that we have of young people around the world. Um, so yeah, I feel like there's lots more that I could share about Force of Nature. I feel like even though we've only been around for 5 years, we've done a lot of stuff and we've learned and we've made mistakes and we've listened to our community and we're still kind of in the I think the evolution phase as it's still a young organization run by young people. Hopefully out of the startup phase now. But yeah, it's been incredible to work so closely with young people around the world and working with folks even on this call today, like yourself, Daniela, and Climate Cares, and being really well connected with the Resilient Project. And yeah, just feeling super grateful for the network as well of organizations who are really not only just advocating for young people, but also just being offered, like offering their knowledge and their expertise and sharing, resource sharing, I think is so important and something that I think we need to be doing more of going forward if we really are to create systems change going forward. Um, I'm just trying to be mindful of time. I think that's my 5 minutes, but yeah, thank you so much. And I'll pass back over to you, Daniela.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Really great to hear the amazing work of Force of Nature. And I can't believe you had 1,000 applications, just shows such a demand. Yes, thank you so much. Moving on to our next panelist. Sorry, I've lost my screen. Let me start again. Who is Judah Jorogi from Kenya, representing the Resilience Project. So thank you so much, Judah. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Daniela. And I'm really privileged to just go after Hannah in Force of Nature. So I want to begin my scene with 2 moments. A young person lying awake at night, scrolling through social media, you're seeing reels about floods, a headline about record heat, a carousel explaining another climate tipping point. You care deeply and you care, and that care slowly turns into anxiety, exhaustion, and a quiet sense of isolation, not because you're weak, but because you're paying attention. And I want us to paint a different picture. Another young person in a village, probably here in Kenya where I am, and a flood cuts through their home, a drought wipes out the crops, and an unexpected climate shock reshapes their life overnight. And they are forced to survive the event, adapt quickly, and make sense of what has happened, often while holding responsibility for their family and community. These two young people may never meet. Their lives look very different, but emotionally they are closer than we often assume. Both are navigating loss, uncertainty, and responsibility in a world that is changing faster than than the systems meant to protect us. So this shared emotional reality is where our work at the Resilience Project begins, and it's why youth resilience matters. A little background on us: the Resilience Project was formed in 2020 by Kitty Hodgetts, and we exist to empower young climate leaders so that they can continue driving change over the long term without burning out, disengaging, or losing themselves along the way. What we do is founded on our climate activation model, which is a framework that was co-designed by the Climate Psychology Alliance and us, and it helps us shift climate engagement away from burnout, inducing urgency, and towards courageous, grounded, and long-term action. In our work, we recognize something that is often overlooked, that sustainable climate action is not only about policy, technology, and strategy, as good as these things are, but it's also about our inner worlds. We combine deep listening, peer support, and care to spark collective transformation, helping young people find agency in their change-making journey. So we believe that global system, the transformative change, begins with our inner dimensions of change, including our cognition, our emotion, our culture, and our belonging. Our wholesomeness really impacts us. So you might ask me, Judah, okay, you're telling me a lot about your climate activation model. What do you actually do? We have community youth programs that take place across the world. This can be workshops, structured programs, free community events, where we support young change makers to navigate climate anxiety, build meaningful networks, protect their mental health while continuing to show up for our people and our planet. And at our very heart is something we call the Resilience Circles. And they are 8 to 10 week peer-led groups in practice, something much simpler but much deeper. This is where young people can come together and tell the truth about what they're feeling and get the necessary resources around them that they can get to be able to cause any change that they want to see. We talk about fear, anger, guilt, grief, hope, and often for the first time without having to justify or intellectualize our feelings. They are facilitated by trained peers who we call our fellows through our Resilience Fellowship program. And they are not experts standing in front of them, but humans standing alongside these other humans sharing an experience. One of our participants described it as this is the first space where they felt like they were able to bring their mental and emotional self into the climate conversations. So we also work with different NGOs and public sector organizations. We know that change is not just made by one agent. So we try to integrate resilience into the workplace, into the climate action space, into the mental health space, and offer practical strategies to unpick eco-anxiety, climate anxiety, foster intergenerational understanding, and strengthen community care. Two pillars of our work that are very important to us are peer support and community. And our first pillar is the work that makes our programs work is not advice or solutions, it's recognition. When a young person realizes they are not alone in their feelings, something shifts. Shame loses its grip, and we are able to stand up. Our research shows this clearly. After taking part in the Resilience Circle, significantly fewer participants reported feeling alone in their climate emotions, and far more reported a sense of belonging. There was one participant who said it was a beautiful community that I look forward to every week. I feel safe, loved, and understood. And for the community, we see that this is not just a buzzword, is how do we create community through vulnerability, through meeting as humans, through getting to those things that, okay, this is a climate event that happened, but I am a person who lives in this community. I have this culture, I have these expectations from me. And how do I deal with the world with all this that I'm bearing? How do I deal with it in an integrative approach? So our fellowship program calls out for people. Right now it's in East Africa, where people are able to come. They join us for 1 year. And we take them through a residential training where we train them to be these peer supporters. And 100% of these participants who have taken part in our resilience residential describe it as life-changing. 1,000 young people, and we've engaged over 388 participants in our resilience circles. We've learned a few lessons from this, that one model can hold many realities, from climate anxiety in Europe to burnout amid political violence in East Africa. We scale through people and not offices. We equip alumni and partners to lead locally, and we recognize that care does not need credentials. Trained peers can hold powerful spaces, and global evidence supports this. And real youth governance takes nurturing and not tokenism, something that our board of youth continues to demonstrate. So at TRP, we are not trying to make young people tougher. We are trying to make it possible for them to stay human in oftenly inhuman conditions. In a world that has been shaped by climate crisis, peer support, community, and shared humanity are not soft add-ons. They are infrastructure, and without them, no movement is sustainable. The Resilience Project is trying to grow this infrastructure, one circle, one conversation, and one community at a time. Having led the work in East Africa now for about a year, we are seeing that, yes, what we learned in Europe, we are seeing it being reinforced in Kenya, that resilience cannot be imported. We are co-creating it through relational and rooted practices, where we're building peer support and community as our pillars, and then meeting as humans to form solutions that are accessible to us with the resources that are available for us. I think that's my 5 minutes. Daniela, over to you.
Thank you so much, Judah, for sharing the fantastic work of the Resilience Project and also reminding us of the shared reality between young people across the world. Thank you. So moving on to our third speakers, Brian Ely and Trisha Rao from Glow in the US. Over to you for your 5 minutes of sharing Glow's amazing work.
Hi everybody. I'm just Trisha. I'm just gonna briefly introduce Glow and then hand off to Bree. So yeah, I'm Trisha. I'm the founder of Glow. I made it when I was in high school, and I'm currently a college student. A big reason why I made it is I wanted to give other youth, other high schools a platform to be able to make an impact and work with other nonprofits that they wanted to. And Glow works to address food security, global health, and community well-being. Our team is made up of 70+ youth leaders that bring diverse viewpoints from 3 continents. When we've also delivered emergency food and aid to 6 different disaster zones. We've also collaborated with incredible partner organizations to drive policy to international change. As at Glow, we work to be amplifiers, so amplifying other nonprofits' impact and having lots of collaborations with them. So yeah, I hand off to Bree, who's a board member and a key mentor. Take it away, Bree.
Thanks, Trisha. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here and share a little bit more information about what we do at Glow. As Trisha said, we have a really diverse team. So we have 70 teammates across 3 continents. We're in different physical spaces, different time zones. So we are almost exclusively virtual in all of our meetings that we come together for. We work on really profoundly interesting problems, whether that's like mental health policymaking, studying extreme heat and its impact on women's health, building AI tech. But in that virtual space, even though we have, fantastic teamwork when we contribute to research and policy, we aren't on the ground and we don't see those solutions implemented even when we're in, really deep in the process in creating them. So I think of the 2 things that are really important operationally for us, one of it is engagement in a virtual workspace. And I think the way that we really drive that is with incredible partners. So we have partners who come and join our meetings. They share so many stories, so much insight as leaders in their own communities. And it really grounds us and I think shows a lot of the real world impact of what we're doing. I think that second piece that we try to establish is having as little hierarchy as possible within our organization. So we have middle school students, high school, college, PhDs, physicians. We have students who need to take midterms and finals, and we have parents whose children get sick. So we all need different kinds of support to be able to give our absolute best back into the work that we're doing. And we all bring really different ideas and perspectives and lived experiences. So I think the big thing that we try to do is create a space where all of our ideas are valued, where, come and challenge my ideas. Tell me what you think. Point out the flaws in it, because even a really good idea needs to be challenged and questioned to become a great idea. And I think that not having a hierarchical leadership structure is really valuable in kind of driving that culture. And I think, Trisha, if you want to talk through kind of how this relates to eco-anxiety and some of the solutions we've come up with there, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Bree. So firstly, I just want to echo everyone's point about eco-anxiety, and how important it is to really talk about it in relation to climate resilience. I think it's a very rational response to being in a society system that isn't protecting people right now. And if we want real climate solutions, we must really treat this mental health as part of these solutions and not as an afterthought. One of the ways that GLOW is kind of working to combat eco-anxiety is through eco art workshops. For context, our eco art workshops, they reuse recyclable materials, so things that feel thrown away that's still usable. This includes things like plastic, let's say stray buttons, or anything that you can kind of give a second life safely. And then basically these workshops, the focus was making a form of stress relief more accessible to people who maybe don't have access to therapy or other safe spaces where they can kind of de-stress or talk about eco-anxiety. Additionally, eco workshops are also this type of universal language that everyone can contribute to, and also create everyone can contribute to. I've seen throughout eco art workshops how people have been given space to process the eco anxiety without being told to stay positive or be resilient through art. Participants are able to release fear, grief, anger, and in turn these emotions into something tangible and shared. Eco art becomes a bridge. It builds emotional resilience, community, and agency, and then helping people move from feeling overwhelmed to feeling connected and empowered. Another thing that I think is really cool to see that happens to eco art workshops is how other youth leaders in GLOW kind of spread this concept to their own cities and states. They've been able to do these workshops with communities, in their states, and be able to impact even more people. I think the total number of the eco art workshops was we were able to impact like 300 plus people through these workshops. And many of them were done in like public places, so public libraries, community centers, etc. So that was one of our big ways of combating eco-anxiety and one of our big climate-related projects. In addition to supporting mental health through eco-art therapy, and also creating spaces to discuss and process eco-anxiety, we're also studying the impact of climate change related to extreme heat and severe weather on the health and well-being. The study mainly takes place in India, and mostly studies like how women are being affected by this extreme heat, especially in relation to their menstruation and pregnancy. So we found that extreme heat can lead to increase in domestic violence, anxiety, sleep loss, and emotional distress. Women face profound challenges, especially during like I said, the pregnancy and menstruation. While heat action plans exist, they rarely reflect women's and children's lived realities. So our work focuses not only on immediate interventions like you authored, but also systemic change through research and policy appeals. That was kind of what I wanted to say. I just want to thank Daniela and Gary for letting me be here and talk about our work. Bree is also one of our key research mentors. So Bree, if you have anything else to add about the report, you're
I think
welcome
that's
to.
perfect. Thanks, Trisha.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Bree. That was fantastic to learn about GLOW, and really great to hear about the diversity in terms of the people that you work with, but also the projects that you work on in this intersection. So Thank you so much. And just before we invite the last panelist to speak, I just want to remind you, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. And also you have opportunity at the end to ask a question out loud if you would like to. So introducing our last panelist, Marcel Oliveira from Brazil, who is a COP30 Youth Climate Champion. Really great to have you here. Over to you, Marcel.
Hello, hello everyone. Bom dia in Portuguese is the good morning, or boa tarde is the good afternoon in Portuguese too. I am Marcela Oliveira, the Presidency of Climate Champion for COP30, and I'm really happy to be here talking about this important topic, especially because today I'm sick. And I wake up today saying, I will talk about health, but I'm sick. But this happens sometimes, and especially because we work a lot, especially the youth people. And this work a lot sometimes is around us, making us forgetting our limits. So I think my speech today will be about this too, about the importance to support the work the youth are doing without making us be sick. So I am from Rio de Janeiro, in Brazil. A lot of people know Rio de Janeiro because of the films and the movies and another type of shows, but I am from another Rio de Janeiro, far away to the beach. My neighborhood is called Realengo. And unfortunately, the floods are part of our lives there. And because of this, when the rain starts, we have people sleeping well, looking for the rain in their house, and we have people losing everything all the time the rain starts. But this is not the raining fall, and this anxiety, this fear with the rain is also part of one structural project our society have. The tourist, the rain is not the problem. The nature is not the enemy. And when we put the problem and the question in the nature, we are making one society when we don't recognize the inequality, the importance of the adaptation, and the importance of the respect of the nature in the table. Maybe this is another conversation for for some peoples, but the real problem is how the humanity is building the cities, the systems, and making these inequalities happen, including with the nature. In here also we have heat waves, and in these heat waves it's really difficult to sleep, it's impossible to concentrate, it's impossible the locomotion to the university or to the work, and all this make us with dangerous in our future. This make us stop, and I think when the society, the civil society, is stopped, it's more easy manipulate us too. When we talk about the mental health, we are also talk about political structures and about system and about the way we want to live because it's our future, right? So in my work these last months inside the COP30 presidency, I listed many times the youth is too sensitive, and everything you are talking about always is a problem. And I start to make one answer for the adults saying that for us, this is good because if we just pass for the problem, don't look and don't face them, this problem is will stay with us. So if we want changings, and this mental health crisis is also one systematical crisis, it's important talk about this and important build spaces to this conversation, support the youth movements around the world, especially the people inside the peripheries and the people inside the South Global. So at COP, the Brazil launched the Belém Action Plan on Health. It's the first international climate adaptation plan focused especially on health. Is one plan recognizing the climate change is already a public health emergency, and we understand this is really important for the global goal adaptations too. It's focused on strengthening health systems through surveillance, resilience, and equity, and it places health, including mental health, at the center of the climate action. Was a big and important plenary there, with the support of our health ministerium and our public health system, the SUS. And this global agenda mobilized $300 million in initial philanthropic investments for implementation and research. So this shows us that change is possible when we treat health and climate as inseparable topics. And the policies, the public policies especially, are not possible to be developed without the youth. Throughout this year, we worked with a lot of young people around the world, and we learned that what they need is not motivation, it's support. Because we understand the problem and we understand the importance to find solutions. We understand the importance of adaptation. We understand the importance to phase off fossil fuels. We understand the importance of the elections and the other systems we have in our countries. But we understand it's not enough. We have to be inside the table of the decisions and inside the building of these public policies to build process possibles for the people inside the peripheries, the communities, the favelas, the quilombos, the aldeias, or the other names we can put for where the young people are. We need the research to turn our lives not just possibles, but one real action to face the climate change. The research and the trust of the adults, but of the system, to empower us as co-creators can really make a difference in the world. I think if we want to build real climate resilience, it's important hubs like the hub we are talking about to build here. And it's important to take care of people's minds as much as we take care of the infrastructure. And understand the infrastructure have impacts in the mental health. Cities that are adapted, resilient with health systems, they are with making effective climate policies. And this have one result for the youth people living there. The question is, we need more of this, and we need everywhere, especially in the most impacted countries of the climate change. So to finalize, young people are already imagining and building this future, like me and my team make during all this COP30 process. But it's important more support, more recognizing, more financial support, logistical, technical, and also the trust in the creativity we have to imagine a new future. We already have the solutions. We are organizing the discussion, and I think for mental health, this is also is important because our mental health is connected with the sensation to don't be alone. So when I came for the big conversations and big plenaries and virtual meetings, and remember I'm not alone, this make me with more healthy too, and this is really important. So I think that is the appointment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marcel, and thank you for advocating for young people through the COP presidency. Yeah, we're all in awe of your work. And also thank you for joining, considering you're not feeling very well today, and also spotlighting the mental health crisis link with the systemic issues that cause a lot of the challenges young people face. So thank you so much to all of the panelists as well. That was fantastic. 20 minutes, I think. We now have time for, I think, one or two questions, and I can see one in the chat, which is, how can I better integrate the climate-induced mental health issues in my current community dialogue I am conducting in vulnerable communities? Who would like to take that one? And there could be multiple of you taking that from the panel. If you just want to unmute. I can pick on one of you. Judah, how would you answer that one? How do you better integrate climate-induced mental health issues in community dialogues? I know the Resilience Project, you do that very well.
Yes, thank you. I was actually about to raise my hand. I'd say what we do first is understanding the contextual and local realities. Uh, there's um, there's a local thing here where that the shoe hurts, the person wearing the shoe knows where the shoe hurts. So understanding the lexicon, the language of how fast they understand what climate effects are to the community itself, and then what they link, how they link mental health and the climate fast to them. And then after that, use that language, use that lexicon, meet them where they are at, and then come with science, come as a co-designer, as a co-listener. And this way you're able to, first of all, get a lot of feedback. From the community itself. I can give a brief example. Like when we were in Kilifi trying to see how community Kilifi is a coastal town in Kenya. When we were there trying to see, okay, how do we link all this up? And then people said, okay, something like schizophrenia, I don't have it in my local lexicon. I don't have it in my local language. I don't have something like climate anxiety. I can't explain it to you, but I have words that describe it. And in our culture, we used to meet around palm trees, planting palm trees, being given these stories of how when we plant them, it's regenerative to our own community. Then that was an entry point for us. We come with all this science, all this data, all these global movements, but we want them to take the lead. We want them to take that sustainability piece. So I'd say, first of all, it's being very keen to listen to how they express it and then working from there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Judah. Yeah, really good reminder to meet people where they're at. I'm going to add an additional question, as well as if any of the panelists want to answer the previous question. But how do youth organisations measure the success of their mental health campaigns or projects? What tracking tools do they use, for example? So who would like to take that? Anything about the integration of climate change, mental health in the communities, or the tracking of your projects?
I'm happy to share about tracking and what we do at Force of Nature. So at Force of Nature, one of the things that we do in terms of like measuring success is we want to understand how young people's mindsets are shifting from the moment like before they join a workshop to after they join a workshop. So we always send out a pre-program and a post-program survey to all of our participants in our workshops. And in the pre-program survey, we ask questions such as, like, I don't know, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you put how you're feeling in terms of like how does the climate crisis make you feel? Do you feel like disempowered? Like going through kind of like how they're feeling before going into a session with Force of Nature. And then our post-program workshop will ask similar questions, but it will say things like, how do you feel after going through this program? What are the shifts that you've noticed? What are the mindset shifts that you've had? Do you feel more empowered? Do you feel more disempowered? Really trying to understand how the content has landed for them. And through that, we're gathering both quantitative and qualitative data as well. So we'll put in like, testimonials, as well as being able to track the kind of numbers and mindset shift as well of folks going through our programs. So that's one way we do it. And we use SurveyMonkey, which is like a platform for capturing survey, and it does really good back end analysis as well. So can definitely recommend that.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Really, really helpful and very specific as well. So hopefully it helps a lot of people on the call. Do any of the other panelists want to come in on tracking projects or how to integrate climate mental health into their communities? Trisha?
I can take a tracking really quickly, but I guess we did for the eco workshops, we did something very similar to Hannah, where we also did like both qualitative and quantitative data, asking, what were your feelings about like climate change or like just like recycling before the workshop and after the workshop, like mainly using the Google form, and also taking like the testimonials, like having them rate their feelings, how empowered they felt or how excited they felt after and before the workshop. Yeah, so that's what we did for the workshops. I don't know, Bree, if you want to add anything with the research.
I
Or
always
yeah.
like to add things with research. I think one thing that I would add is that, I think it's great when we're doing surveys, especially when it's in a community that we're really familiar with because we are
Yeah.
part of that community. It's easy to understand how would I read through this survey? What does that mean to me? With a lot of our research, we're in communities across the United States, we're in communities internationally. And I think it's really important to be aware that when we're studying mental health, even standardized tools like the PHQ-9 for depression or the GAD-7 for anxiety are not perfect. There's issues with stigma, there's difficulty with translation, and it can lead to a lot of false negatives. So I think it's really important to remind ourselves that a lot of these tools come from maybe a Western place where we've developed and tested them over time, and it may be more accurate in some communities than others. And it is super, super important to make sure that community leaders and community representatives are integrated into not just local studies and international studies, but across the board, I think, because we can keep exchanging ideas, um, to improve the way that we track the impact of our programs, as well as how we evaluate the current state of mental health in the communities that we serve.
Thank you so much, Trisha and Bree, and for that reminder of what mental health means in a lot of communities and the stigma and where mental health concepts and measures come from as well. So thank you so much for that. Before we move on, Marcel, I just want to give you the opportunity to also add anything on those questions or anything else that you wanted to bring up before we move on to the breakout groups.
I think all you making important reminders about the process and the importance to make more intersectional discussion about climate health, climate change, in the possibilities we have. So I put in the chat about the mental health corner we built at the Children Youth Pavilion at COP. And no one imagines something will happen to one mental health corner will be really, really, really important. But everybody understood the importance to make this space exist there. And in one moment during COP, one pavilion take fire, and a lot of people was able to found the Children Youth Pavilion and another place where we put this type of assistance. And everybody say, oh, thank you, this is important to exist. So in the beginning, everybody say, what's the reason this space exists in the pavilion? And after the fire, everybody understand the importance. Also at the youth city we made to free accommodation for youth during COP, there was more than one space was with integrative health with people to attend you and make a lot of type of assistance, not just to listen or draw, but also physical assistance like massage and all this. And was another thing in the beginning that people say, but this is important, this is urgent. What is the necessary of this mental health care in the process? But when the people was there using this assistance, the people was understanding the importance of this exist. So we don't need one bad thing or one problem to start to make this intersectional care be in the projects and the spaces we are. The best is don't wait for, is just make the space happen and make the space one possible space for the youth and also for adults and also for children to understand the importance of take care of ourselves and take care of the other people working and fighting for climate justice with us. Sometimes this is like a lot of poetry, but in the moment the fire starts, was really real, the importance of one space to take care of the people. So we are talking about take care of the planet in the COP process, but the people take care of the planet is important too. Like all the people living inside the forests, in the rivers, in the oceans, but also like us here, putting our time, our intelligence, and our knowledge on the table to make this hub. So yeah, for me is important this point. Don't wait for the problem, and also understand take care of the planet, take care of the people. So mental health care for everyone and everywhere.
Thank you so much, Marcel, and for reminding us that we need these mental health spaces at events that young people go to, including COP, and it shouldn't take a fire to make it worthwhile and important. So thank you so much for reminding us of that. And thank you for everyone who asked questions. I know we couldn't get around to everyone, but hopefully you can contact the panelists if you like, or each other on some of those questions. I know the panelists have shared their details and their websites in the chat. Thank you so much again to the panelists for joining us. That was incredible and really a lot of wisdom and wise words. So we're now going to move on to our breakout groups. Now it's the opportunity to hear from you. Yes, sorry, Gary.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just I tried to text to chat with you that I just got a text from Marie Martha Barrenetxe, who is going to also speak, but wanted me to share her regrets to everybody that she can't make it due to an emergency. So she leads an effort out of the UN Youth Office, which is a partner to us in this observatory that we're going to ask your advice on in a moment as Daniela pivots to that. And one thing they've done is they've mapped all youth organizations and youth-led initiatives in the world who work on mental health and are also dividing those out into certain areas, one being climate and mental health. And if you have an initiative that is not in that map, this is a form I put in the chat that you can use to sign in there. This mapping can really be powerful in terms of nation states seeing it, other UN agencies and other global organizations seeing it. So I just wanted, I know she would have wanted to say that and share that. And so just wanted to convey that before we switch over.
Thank you so much, Gary. And thank you also for sharing the link where you can connect to other youth-led organizations and add your own to that. So hopefully you're already creating that community together. So yeah, thank you so much. Now we're going to go into breakout groups, your opportunity to share your experiences. And you can do that in two ways. You can obviously speak out in the breakout groups for those who can, but also we are going to be using a Miro board, and there's 4 Miro boards, and you will be kind of allocated to the one with the name of your facilitator. So that's the one that you'll be contributing to. So please add all your ideas to the 3 questions on the Miro board, and your facilitator will be asking those questions at the same time. That's the main way we're going to kind of remember what you've all said. So that's how we're capturing it on the Miro board. You're going to have about 15 minutes. We'll call you back in 15 minutes. So that'll be 4:15, depending on your time zone. I think that's the universal time zone of this webinar. So you'll be in your breakout rooms 15 minutes. You'll have a facilitator. Feel free to introduce yourself when you first speak, and kind of unmute or put your hand up when you want to speak, just kind of normal amount of rules. So we're just putting the Miro board into the chat right now, and hopefully your facilitator can also add it into the chat when you're in the breakout groups. Does that sound clear to my panelists? I'm hoping that, is there anything I missed? I'm getting some nods. Fantastic. Okay, so we're setting up the breakout groups now. You'll be back in for your ideas on the Miro board and your discussions and conversations. We're just going to spend about a minute per group just overviewing what was discussed. I'm going to come to group 1 first, whose facilitator I think was Genevieve, I think. But if someone in the group or Genevieve wants to report back.
Daniel, I was in group 1, but we have Sumana who kindly agreed to sort of wrap it up and give us a quick summary of what went on. We actually didn't even get through to the 3rd question because the conversation just kept going for the first 2, but that happens in breakout groups. So over to you, Sumana. Thank you so much again. You're on mute. We don't hear you yet.
Do we have to unmute them?
Give me 1 second. Oh, I lost her on my screen. Yeah, it should give you a prompt now.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. There you go.
This group was orchestrated by Riddhi. Thank you, Riddhi, for organizing us. So we talked about the existing youth and mental health climate communities that are in place. So we talked about nonprofits that are based in Africa, Asia, Europe and East Africa, North America, and then some work that Glow is doing in India as well. We listed organizations working here, and then we talked about how can we create youth involvement in a climate and sort of what is a good model for a youth observatory or hub. So we talked about strong emphasis on co-creation with young people, not just consultation, having good mentors that can empower a youth with design thinking and research skills, having good on-the-ground partners who are already doing work so that you can amplify their work, with these youth-led initiatives, so they're not an island. And then we talked about capacity building, even leadership skills, and providing them with system thinking, and then also kind of including younger kids, and then older kids. So those are things that we talked about. Riddhi, did I miss anything?
No, that was perfect. Thank you so much once again for putting it all together. Back to you, Daniela.
Thank you so much. And sorry that I'm confused which groups. I can no longer see the Miro board. It kind of went crazy for me. So Genevieve, can I go to your group? I have no idea which number you are, but yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I think we're group 3. I'll also just maybe touch on very briefly and invite one of our participants to, I believe, will be raising their hands, because we had sort of lots to discuss around, particularly so if anybody wants to add as well, you would raise your hand and we would unmute you. But we essentially focus a lot on particularly question 3 in terms of how we can sort of create this youth movement, what can make it sustainable and joining, and we sort of create some points in terms of being relevant to maintain that sort of youth engagement, also in terms of having it creating a safe and inclusive space for young people, because that is also very key. We also talked about having sort of guidelines, and we need to ensure that there are sort of regulations within that hub to sort of guide its sort of actions as well. We did discuss a lot about some of the existing communities, and we spoke about some of the sort of interdisciplinary communities, where we see a lot of work being done within the space, but sometimes it's not really, how would you put it, it's sort of separate from the climate change, that linkage, and needs to sort of be strengthened. And we had some great ideas of someone developing an app to sort of transmit climate anxiety into climate action. So some sort of innovative solutions will also shared there. I know some of our colleagues wanted to share. If they do, they could raise hand. If not, then I'll hand it back over to you, Daniela. But yes, we did run out of time, of course, but definitely the participants will be added in some of their further thoughts within the mirror board. Thanks.
Thanks so much. I don't know if there's anyone in your group who is raising their hand. I can't see them at least. If not, we'll move on to, was there 4 breakout groups in the end? Did Gary have one, or did Gary have to dip out? Yeah. So is there someone from Gary's group, or is Gary still here?
Yeah. So it's over to you now, Daniela.
Oh, it's me. Okay. Yeah, if Trisha or Hannah, would you mind sharing from our group, if that's okay? Sorry to put you a bit on the spot. Thanks, Hannah.
I'm happy to share. So, so I'm just getting the mirror board up. So I'll speak to specifically what we were sharing about how youth can be involved in co-creating an observatory youth hub. And we were saying about the importance of maybe like young people inputting on the programming, or, what the observatory is actually going to look like, and kind of the content that's going to be involved into going into these hubs. Also the importance of maybe creating a youth advisory board, so young people are really steering the vision and the values of these hubs, so they're being really supportive for the young people who are participating in them. And then also just making sure that there's a real breadth and diversity of experiences being involved in the creation of these youth hubs, so that there's nuance being added to the conversation, so that we're hearing from like many different perspectives. And so young people from around the world can really see themselves involved in these hubs, and it's not kind of like exclusionary in any way, and it's more accessible. So we were talking about that, and then we also kind of similarly were saying about the importance of partnering, and I was sharing a little bit about how at Force of Nature we found that particularly with funding, there's just a real lack of funding for youth nonprofits, and particularly in the climate space. But we found that funders seem more likely to fund projects when it's done in a collaborative kind of way, so with multiple different organizations. So making sure that maybe there's ways for these young people and organizations that young people work for, of collaborating, networking, working on projects together, really creating an ecosystem that feels very alive, and kind of network sharing and resource sharing, I think has been important discussion that we had. Is that everything? I think so.
I think that was a pretty good summary. Thanks so much, Hannah. And thank you so much for everyone in the breakout groups. As always with these kind of events, there's so much to say, so little time. So before I pass you on to Rudy to kind of close, just want to say a massive thank you from me. It's really great to be a part of this. Also to say to the panelists, if you have 5 minutes after this session, it'd be great to have a quick debrief and just to say thanks to you as well. Over to you, Rudy.
Thank you so much, Daniela. While Giovanni brings up some slides for me, given that, as I mentioned earlier in the session, that this is one of our last events of the year, actually, and of the Becoming series, I just wanted to walk all of you through what Youth4Capacity does. And some of you might already know our work and have been a part of our other events and other sessions, or have been collaborators. But essentially, Youth4Capacity is a program that is run by the UN Climate Change Secretariat, which works on exactly building capacities of young people. So there's a QR code that leads you to the webpage that has all of the information of what we do throughout the year. Giovanni, can you go to the next slide, please? Perfect. So some things that we did this year, we have a flagship project, which is the Climate Catalyst Mentorship Program. Throughout this session as well, we heard capacity building as such a buzzword that came out, and partnerships that came out through different breakout groups, but also through the panel as well. So we started this mentorship program 2 years ago. We run this together with our sibling initiative, which is Youth for Climate, that is led by the UN Development Program. And this year, we actually did 3 different boot camps, one on entertainment culture based climate solutions, one on funding climate projects, and then a final one on green skills. All of these were actually created and actually led by youth-led organizations, much like some of the ones that you heard from today through the panel. But this is a great opportunity to be involved while the boot camps are done, and they're not recorded opportunities. We do have digests for all 3 of them in terms of all the information that came out of this, all the interesting questions, quotes from keynote speakers, all of that. So you can check that out on our website as well. Giovanni, if you go to the next slide. And there's a really fun project that we've been working on over the last 2 years, which is called the Language of Climate Action. We actually started with wanting to do 10 words, but we're on our 15th word now. And the idea is basically every buzzword that you hear in the climate action space, we pick that up and essentially talk to young people and young leaders across the space to kind of define those words and own those definitions and share their experiences of how they connect with those words as well, whether it's climate distress, which is very pertinent to today's topic that we have looked at. And then there's other words such as more technical terms like nationally determined contributions or marine protected areas or loss and damage. So these are about 3 to 4 minute videos per word, and we'd urge you to check them out. Connect with the people that shared their inputs. They have fantastic organizations. It's a great way to network and kind of learn about other people's work in the space as well. A lot of them also work in the mental health space. So that's a great opportunity to have, and a project that we've been working on for a bit. Next slide, please, Giovanni. And then, like I said, more capacity building opportunities. Youth4Capacity has got you. We have a very Becoming a Climate Champion 101 course. We have actually had 6,000 people complete this course over the last 2 years, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback on it. So if you haven't done this course, if you were part of the mentorship program, or that's how you've brought to this particular session, then you've probably completed this. But if not, then this course has 5 different modules, everything from communication skills to project implementation. It takes you to all of that. It's a great opportunity. And I mean, the holiday period is here. And if you're not doing very much besides celebrating and you would like a capacity building opportunity, this is a great one to, wind down the year with and come out into 2026 as a climate champion. So I'll plug that in over here as well. And with the last slide, there are just 2 final courses that I have for you. So if you're very interested in what the UN Climate Change Secretariat does or what climate negotiations look like, there are 2 other courses on UNCC Learn as well that you can take a look at. I know a lot of you might be in college or in university or school even, and you have holidays right now. And if you are thinking of looking for another opportunity, then that's here are some already. But with that being said, we are knee deep in planning for our next year's activities. So much like this year, where we had 4 different Becoming series sessions, with this one being the last one, we will be launching different really exciting topics for next year as well, and a whole bunch of things, much like the mentorship program, the new version of it, and in-person activities. We'll be doing activations at the Bonn Climate Change Conference and the COP as well. So there's a lot more to come. And to keep in touch, I have just dropped a link. It's our newsletter, and that's like a fantastic space for you to just know what's happening. And whether it's online events or offline, we share a newsletter every couple of months, so you know what's going on. With that being said, on behalf of the Youth4Capacity team and the Young Climate Change Secretariat, I'd really like to congratulate the organizers of this event for this fantastic session on such an important topic. And what a important topic to end the year off with. So Bill and Miles Imperial Institute for Global Health Innovation, Climate Cares, the UN Youth Office, but also the panelists and their organizations. Thank you so much for sharing your work, because I think that is the most important thing for us to sort of showcase all sorts of youth-led projects. And, y'all are all leaders and champions in your own space. And of course, to all the participants, because without you, this session would not have been what it was and it is. So with that, we would love for you to, for those of you that can, please turn on your cameras, show us your biggest smiles, and we'll take a group photo to end this off on a happy note. And maybe Joanna can help me out with the screenshots. I see cameras coming up, big smiles coming up. Perfect. It's lovely to see all of y'all's faces. Hope you enjoyed this session, and then let's hope that we get a picture. And Giovanni, maybe I think we can go now. There are 3 pages to get through right now. Perfect. Big smiles, everyone.
You should receive a request, so you can accept the request for the group photo.
Yeah.
It's not Zoom, it's a request, a legit request. Yeah.
Perfect.
Just a few more seconds.
I took a screenshot as well on my end, just in case the request. Okay, you should see there was one that pops up. It says allow for screenshot. Yeah, perfect. All right, with that, thank you very much. A big thank you from the Youth4Capacity team. And once again, have a lovely holiday period. And while we do all of this climate action work, hope you can look inwards as well and give yourself a big hug to go through this process as well. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.